Okay, hi everybody and welcome to Millennials episode 3. Today we're going to be talking about revealers of the Aquarian age. So I'm going to introduce everybody. I'm going to go ahead and start with Ben.
Hi guys, we're here today basically to answer some more questions and to kind of go along with our previous videos, but we want to discuss briefly what the Age of Aquarius means and why it's such a crucial part to human evolution, and especially at this day and age, it's very important for us to be aware of thyself, for lack of a better word. But we're gonna briefly discuss the Age of Aquarius along with the fact that self-realization is such a key point to this new perspective, I guess we could put it, that we're kind of going through this journey and we've all experienced it through our own eyes. So we're going to go around the panel and just kind of see how the journey looked like through different sets of eyes, so that you guys as an audience can then put it into your own world and then hopefully start detaching from the things that are holding you back. The third point that we're going to go from is we're going to pick one topic that is it's very simple and it happens in the real world that we can kind of give to you guys as an example, because that's really what the biggest thing is here, is to have your own self-analysis and your own understanding, because this is not it's not a competition on this panel. It is our attempts to try and bring you to this own awareness so that you can create your own destiny, I guess, and walk alone as a peaceful warrior amongst men, women, colors of all sizes and shapes. So I'm here if you guys got anything for me.
Thank you, Ben. Do we want to go straight into those points, or let me just introduce the rest of the panel then? We have also Callie and Summer joining us. They missed our last episode, but they're here today. And we have Ben and Jimmy, of course, returning from the last time, and Mr. Trist Magistas, and Og is here returning. Thank you so much for coming back. And thank you for joining me. Today, my intent with this is to speak my truth about what self-discovery path is all about and what it means for me. And so hopefully today we can discuss some of your concerns and questions that you have, and anything that we can help you with. We are here for you guys to ask us any questions. I myself been on this self-discovery path all my life. And so I know most of you guys here, Jimmy, Ben, and Kelly, and Summer, you guys are millennials, and you are also on self-discovery path. And so today we're going to share our own findings, and hopefully together we can be on the path of humanity discovering itself. And so this is ultimately what I wanted to talk about today. So we're going to go around, and Jimmy, we're going to start with you.
So basically, can we just get an introduction into what exactly the Age of Aquarius means? Like, what does it entail? Yeah, just like a very, very brief kind of explanation of it.
Well, the Age of Aquarius is, the so-called ages are derived from what is referred to as the precession of the equinox. The Earth as you know, kind of like wobbles like this. And then as it's moving around the sun, and as it obviously spins, it's on its own axis twice in 24 hours. And from the point of view of Earth, when it's going around like this, to certain constellations, wisdom teachers of the old up to the present day notice that the cycle that takes moving from the point of view of Earth go through certain constellations and a certain period of time that would refer to as cycles. And then in each cycle, whether it would be in Roman times or Greek times or even in India, it would be usually like a period of growth, a period of maturity, a period of starting to crumble and starting to deteriorate, and then a period of starting to rebuild and going back again. So the last cycle before this time that we're approaching now, or may have been into it, is the so-called Piscean age. And many people believe that the Piscean age is a time of rules and regulations based on patriarchy. Within the last 2,500 years, as we know, this is the formation of the all-powerful Roman Catholic Church and certain teachings that they instilled. And some people believe that previous times, it was not in a patriarchal time, it may have been in a matriarchal, where the earth was in reverence and the feminine. The patriarchal, when the transition came in, they were trying to suppress the previous and instate their views. And we're in the tail end of that now, approaching this Aquarian age, which is more of an age of enlightenment. I wouldn't automatically say a golden age, but moving towards that. Maybe Og could elaborate further. I think Og might have a scientific approach that might aid in that regard. Anyone?
To me, what I want to add to that is almost, you know, a society and humanity is going through a huge change right now. And I think this is undeniable if we really look at everything what's going on in our world today. There is a great change upon humanity, and I think a lot of us can feel that. We can feel it in our spirit, we can feel it in our bones, we can feel it in our bodies, that there's changes that are coming. And where humanity today is, we can, I think it's going to be my own personal opinion, but I think there is an end of this period that has been very difficult for humanity, and we have not had a spiritual growth. And right now, humanity is waking up to a true nature of who human beings are. And to me, that's what Aquarian Age is all about. It's a human being waking up to its true self, which is source self. And this true awakening path or enlightenment path, what it means to me is an integration of the spirit, creator, source creation, spirit into a human existence. And that's what Aquarian Age to me is all about, is humanity's spiritual growth path. And this is what we're stepping into. And what I've been talking about in the last 2 years is this spiritual awakening that humanity is about to enter, and that it's going to start with self. It always starts with self. Any spiritual path that a human being can take starts with self, because it's all ultimately about self-awareness and about your spirit and who you are at the core as a human being. And this is what Aquarian age means to me, is human awakening to true self.
The other thing I'd like to add to that is, as I demonstrated, where the Earth is on a wobble going like this, and then from a point looking up at the stars, various reference points to star constellations change over a period of time. But also, one thing that also has been brought up within the last several years is that the solar system itself, all the 9 planets, including the sun, also moves through space. And many people believe, and scientific people have demonstrated, that the solar system in itself is getting into an alignment with the center of the Milky Way galaxy. The center of the Milky Way galaxy is where all the stars are birthed out of in this galaxy, including our sun. And coming from that center of the Milky Way galaxy is photonic energy, electromagnetic frequency that's shooting out. So as this electromagnetic frequency is shooting out of the galactic center, and as our solar system, including the planet that we are on, is moving into the space, moving into a greater alignment, the Earth, as well as all the other planets and the sun, is being bathed by this electromagnetic energy. And this may also be what is something that's awakening aspects within ourselves, possibly dormant DNA that is further awakening and then opening up more faculties and more spiritual awareness, mental faculties, and even physical faculties. As far as I know, in our solar system, I could be wrong, but Earth is the only planet that has actual physical life, carbon-based life, and that's why we're being affected. This also may be responsible for the so-called heating up of the planet, which some people have believed to say it's caused by CO2 emissions, when in reality, all the planets in our solar system is heating up. And it's not based on CO2 emissions. It's based on this increased electromagnetic energy that's being based on the entire solar system, including the sun and the Earth. So something's happening right now that might be unprecedented. And this is what may be indicative of the so-called spiritual awakening, coinciding with this shift out of the Piscean into this so-called Aquarian age. So all these factors, these tumblers, have come into place and locked in. And now we're at the forefront for some new discoveries, not only in spirituality, but also in scientific discoveries as well.
I say it is a spiritual awakening that is happening.
And then the other thing
which is all about.
The other comment I'd like to make one more comment that might help Ben and Jamal, in that what started in some of the things that were revealed in the previous videos was a sense of confusion, a sense of not knowing what's real, what's fake, things of that nature. And all these things that I just described is not something that automatically is revealed on the 6 o'clock news. If anything, the 6 o'clock news, as by design, is always focusing on, the lowest common denominator, tragic events, wars, disasters, big fire downtown in New York City or whatever. No one's actually giving the truth of what's really happening. So, without having a firm knowledge or reference point, anyone, including myself, could easily be confused. So that's why it's important to consider to study some historical perspectives of what some of these ancient cultures going back in time, maybe going back as far as ancient Egypt, and then moving forward and trying to read up on what some of these cultures experienced, what were their highs, what were their lows, things of that nature. And then we can then put into a framework of where we are right now and what's happening to us. And then keeping in mind that the big major difference is this new flood of photonic energy that's coming in from the center of the Milky Way galaxy. You put all that together, it's a very exciting time to be alive.
It's a revolutionary time.
It is the age for change, and it's the age that we are going to be given the platform to either, you know, make a traumatic difference for the ways that we live our lives, or we're going to continue to consume in kind of what looks like to be a virus, because that's how I kind of like to look at human behavior. It's kind of like a virus because we consume without knowing, and we also are so we just aren't up to date on everything that we're talking about. And because everybody likes to think that they know all the answers, the fact of the matter is they don't. So if you can take that knowledge and then put it into your normal life and just take a step back from, like HRS said, it's not a fake world that we're living in. It's just that there is a lot more to the story than what we're given, because the main points that we get our information from, like the news or you know, World Book encyclopedias, is it's somebody else's creation, and they have the ability in their making of that product to manipulate and basically give you the kind of image that they want you to. So they bend and mold what's real compared to what's not, and what they want you to believe. So in essence, it's like we're and Og said this in the last video, like we're like a big herd of cattle being kind of shuffled around, and the only thing that we're missing is just the awareness levels, that, you know, we're not here to consume, and we're not here to just you know, live in complete happiness and bliss with materialistic items, but instead live in harmony with ourselves and all of our brothers and sisters, because really that's what it is. You know, we're not stupid and we're not uneducated. It's rather the opposite. We just haven't dove deep enough into the history books, or, you know, looked at it from different perspectives enough to pick up on, you know, what we really need to be focused on, you know, for the betterment of not only yourself in your own life, but for the betterment of humanity and the brothers and sisters that you walk with. You know, the Age of Aquarius there's a lot of energy that we don't understand, but that's the cool thing, is we don't understand it. So if we can be an original creator, and we can take the knowledge in our own sense and create out of respect, and create and build out of I don't know, just the satisfaction that you're doing the right thing, then a lot of the plagues that we see are going to kind of disappear and detach from the religion that we kind of focus on. Because religion, like I like to say, it's not a bad thing, and it's not a bad tool, because they're all great books. But I can't take credibility for reading, you know, into a whole bunch of Buddhism or agnostic readings or any of that kind of stuff. But what I can tell you guys is that I've been living in a world that seems almost perfect and almost too easy to be true and too good to be true. But then when you take a step back and you know, you're whole, all these things are happening to you and you don't understand why, and you start pointing the fingers and you start pointing the blame at people because you don't understand why those things happen to you. But the fact of the matter is, there's a reason why everything happens. And it's kind of like how Og and HRS like to explain it. It's through science, because the base of science was introduced to better ourselves and our experience here on Earth. So it's, I guess I'm getting a little off topic, but, you know, just you have to hold true to yourself. And it's not a matter of fighting it. It's just a matter of letting yourself free, because there's a lot of information, a lot of knowledge that's good for you, and it could be turned into a very good thing for you in the future if you can change, you know, your lens on it or your viewpoints. And then just take it in an organic sense, you're going to build and you're going to lose a lot of those things that are holding you back. And then it ties into, then you are just the source creator, and then you build and you create based on how you feel and what you think is going to be best for that specific moment, because the past is only a tool to help aid your future. We can only live and craft in this present moment. So that's my big thing, is I want to get everybody into this moment rather than on all different levels, because this moment is the most important.
I want to ask both Jamal and Ben a question, and I want to paint this picture. Obviously, we're in the United States. Imagine if all 50 states were warring with each other, each state fighting amongst each other state for domination. What do you think it would be like if that was happening? Just a quick first thing that comes off your mind. If each of the 50 states were fighting for domination, what would you think that would be like?
I think it would branch into different levels of government systems, because people would go to where they feel comfortable, and then it's basically like the rest of the human or the animal kingdom, where you are, you're fighting for survival rather than fighting for consumption.
Okay, and Jamal?
Well, I think it's kind of similar, but I don't think there would be any system at all at that point. There would be so much like disjunction and chaos that people would just be going against on their own volition. They wouldn't really be listening or, taking advice from anybody.
Right. The reason why I asked this question is not that it pertains to anything in the present time, is that because that's exactly how it was around 250 BC in China. When a gentleman by the name of Lao Tzu saw what was going on, where all the states of his country were at war with each other. Each one had their own group of military peoples all fighting for control. So he decided not to participate. He walked away. What he did was he left all civilization and the fighting amongst themselves, went into the forest, and basically communed with nature, sat down by a stream, and just sat there and watched how the stream just kind of bounces over the rocks, how the sun, he could feel it on his skin, how a bird would just fly by. And he started to notice that everything seemed to be in harmony. And the more he spent time studying this and feeling it and being part of it, things weeks ago, prior, when he was in this chaos, started to calm down. And when he started to calm down, his intuition started to open up. And he got flooded with insights. And then he started recording his insights. And then basically that was the foundation of Chinese Taoism, which then later became the foundation of various Chinese martial arts and disciplines, acupuncture, the whole bit. The point I'm trying to get at is that when you experience things that you watch on TV, whether it be constant bombardment of advertisements, when you watch news channels and it's all about negative news, they actually may very well be reporting truthful stories, but you want to be bombarded with various people that are getting beat up over here, the fires that are happening over here, the person that lost their house over there, etc. Wouldn't you rather see hey, John just celebrated his 40th birthday and his wife made a dinner and all the neighborhood came together and they all started playing music and had a great time. You won't see that on the news. It's always the darkest, the dirtiest, whatever. The point I'm trying to get at, when you see all this chaos, what you might perceive as being fake or stressful or whatever, at any given moment, you have the choice to walk away, to turn off your TV, to turn off your lights, to leave your door, to walk away, to walk into nature, to see the trees, to feel the wind, to close your eyes and just listen to what you hear. Feel the wind on your skin. Feel the grass. And just calm yourself down. And then when you calm yourself down, you'll find, as in the case with the example of Lao Tzu, is that you'll start to get insights and you'll start to harmonize yourself. Whereas before, you're all like this, and all of a sudden, it's like all your energy starts to come like, boom, centered.
Yes.
Calm.
Lines.
Everything, now you're in alignment. And now, with that alignment, you then can re-enter your home, your job, your relationship, whatever. And now, from a perspective of balance. And then you're automatically now turn the news back on, and you're seeing the person, the host, talking about the latest terrorist attack or whatever. And now, because you're balanced, you're not in it. It's not sucking you in. You're detached. And that's a very simple form of detachment. But through more experience of doing the things, like I said, and contemplating in quiet periods of time, doing things that relax you, through music, certain hobbies that you might like, whatever they may be. As simple as brushing a dog. If you have a pet dog, it gives you joy. You're making the dog feel great. You're cleaning his hair, removing potential insects, whatever, and you're in harmony. So the key thing is when you see all this craziness going about you, pick and choose what you would like to do that gives peace and joy for you. And then do that. Ride a bike, get on a skateboard, whatever that gives you peace and joy. And then, in a sense, you're mimicking your own Lao Tzu. You're not attached, and you're not all pulled over in all different directions. Oh, what do I do? I got to pay this. Oh, if I don't pay this, my phone's going to be shut off. Just let the phone get shut off, man. Go out, take a walk in nature. And I just want to turn this back to Lily, because I know Lily has some experiences based on some previous videos about going into nature. Maybe Lily could say a few things about what it was like for her when she went into nature and started relaxing and things like that. I think that would be helpful.
Okay, before I go on to that, Summer, did you want to ask a question?
I just wanted to say something. So, in my experience in this world, there's this illusion of separation. These different classes, different gender, different race. There's so much separation, and we feel so disconnected from each other. And last week, I found myself in this cathedral, and this woman was singing beautiful music, and before each song, they would say a few words, and just talking about the changing of seasons and the changes in life that we go through. And when you're living in sin, you are shut out. And I guess like I wouldn't call myself a religious person, but I'm a spiritual person. And just being able to connect with those people where I don't believe maybe the same thing that they believe, that this person's going to come save me, but that we're experiencing the same things in life, that we have hardships and that we change and we grow. And in this waking up, I feel like my part is to show people that we're not so different, to connect, to end the illusion of separation. And yeah, that's just wanted to say that my experience with that. We're more alike than we think we are.
We're the same species. It doesn't matter what shape, size, or color you come in. We all think alike, and we all do things based off of the chemical responses that we feel in our brain, you know? Mm-hmm. So, like, I think for you, like, and for me and Jimmy as the younger folk, you know, it's really difficult to detach because you've devoted your whole life to learning all of this gibberish, and you don't know what to do with it because we haven't yet detached back to the source creation, you know? And then when you are presented with different people in different walks of life, it's different. So you don't know how to do it. And since you don't know how to do it, a lot of people resort to anger and aggression and, you know, those kind of stimulants, which obviously you've seen through high school and middle school and elementary school that they don't work. So that, I think that's just the point that we're at, you know, because once you, there's nothing in the past that you can place judgment upon, you know. When you meet someone new, you let them paint their own canvas because Because if you don't, then you're going to create falsified emotions. Like Og likes to say, it's a world of mirrors. What you see in someone else is the reflection of what you see in yourself. And it took me a long time to understand fully. But now that I do, you really start to watch what you say, and you really start to just embody the experience rather than all the things that we've attached ourselves to, you know.
And there's so much fear too. It's sad to see people driven by fear to live your life for fear of the unknown. We're limited by our five senses, and there's so much that we can't see. There's so many things happening here right now that my eyes cannot perceive, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening, and it's nothing to be scared of. Be driven by love, not by fear.
It just happens. It's just life.
So this is what I'm going to add to that, all right? The fear, Summer, all the confusion and all of that. If you focus on that, because it's external of you, this is what's confusing you, this is what scares you, this is what in chaos, it seems like your external world is in chaos. And the way to get out of that is to go in. That's the only way out, is through going within. That's one thing that I can say that worked for me. Is the only way. So I can say that it is true for me, that the only way we could change anything in the external world is through going within and changing from within. Because everything what we need to have, we are the creator beings, and we have the spirit of source within us. It is within. Every chaos and every destruction that you see in external world is intended to keep you away from this path of going within and reconnecting and operating from your true self, which is all that it is, a universal living spirit is within you. And humanity is manipulated. We are manipulated because we are unaware of that very fact. That we are source creator beings. And that source is the spirit that animates us here in human body. And that's the only path that is the greatest path that any of us could take, is the path within. That's the only way out of this, like you say, Ben, in the beginning, this fake reality. It's all out there, it's in front of your eyes, and it's distracting you, right? And the reason it's distracting you, because it's meant to do so. So you don't go in, you don't find your own greatness within, you don't find that source of power within you. And so my attempt here is to always tell you guys, and I've been telling you for all of your lives, you are responsible for your spirit. You are the spirit. You are the source. And that's the only power you need to succeed, is your true source self in this life.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what you just described is exactly the same example I used with the example of Lao Tzu when he left the warring and all that. Obviously, in his day, They didn't have the internet, they didn't have TV, they didn't have malls and stuff like that. But what he did have was people still fighting for each other for what little space there was. He intuitively said, I don't want to be a part of this, so I'm going to walk out. And then he became calm in nature. So the lesson is not copy him and then study Taoism, although it's helpful if one did. The lesson is what Lily just described, is that the source creation, or what Lao Tzu himself would say, the Tao, the way of the universe. That's what the Tao means. The translation of Tao in Chinese means the way of the universe. So the way of the universe and source creation, they're pretty like, it's like this. It's pretty interchangeable. It's the same stuff. And when Kelly earlier said that, there's so much division, there's so much racial tension and stuff like that. Again, whenever you're experiencing that, is that you're experiencing that that's what's happening based on what you're watching on the TV or on the internet. And then they themselves are recording it at certain events or places or demonstrations or political rallies or whatever. But even in that case, is to detach from that and try a simple experiment of turning off the internet and turning off the television and the radio for 1 week and stay off it and take walks around the block. Or if you have a park near where you live, visit the park, sit down on a bench, breathe in the air, reconnect to your own physicality, and then contemplate about how you relate to the world that is around you. When I say the world around you, I'm talking about the natural world around you, the world that is not fake. Because remember, the world is natural. It's an organic planet with organic life forms. The highest intelligent organic life forms are humans, but there are other organic life forms as well, such as butterflies, insects, squirrels, birds, fish, etc. Spend time in that environment. You'll then reattune yourself to that. And even if it's just a half-hour a day, yep, I understand you may have a job, you have to be there at 9 o'clock in the morning, you get out at 5, you come home, you got to get something to eat. There's still time somewhere, 15 minutes, pull out of it all and spend some time with yourself in silence, in nature, in the corner of your room. Close your eyes. That's all that meditation is. Everyone says, well, how do you meditate? I don't know. There's some technique. Is there this? Should I do transcendental meditation? Should I do Zen meditation? What should I do? Just, man, dude, ease up. Close your eyes. Listen to your breathing. Slow it down. Deep inhalations, deep exhalations. Stay calm. Stay at peace. You start to notice thoughts come in. Oh, my friend John's coming over later. Okay, so you know what I'm doing later. Okay, John, I know you're coming over later. Let that thought go. Oh, I forgot to pay the phone bill. All right, yeah, you don't have to pay it right this second. You pay it tomorrow or next week. Not at all. Just let the thoughts come in. Don't wrestle with them. Let them come in. Let them go. The more you do that, the more time you spend, a few minutes a day, half hour, you get to the point in time where no thoughts come in at all or no distracting thoughts. And then you're in tune with your spirit that is within, and you're in tune with the earth itself and the sun and the planets and that Milky Way galaxy and the totality of the universe, the source creation that is. And what happens then? You're getting all kinds of insights. You're going to say, hey, man, you know what? I don't want to do this job anymore. I want to be a musician. I'm going to learn how to play guitar. Or whatever it is you want to do, whatever gives you the greatest joy, finding ways to do that and make it happen. Writing poetry, writing notes, whatever you like doing, find a way to do that. Oh, how am I going to do this? How am I going to say that? Again, that's all you're being bombarded with thoughts. Let all those things go. Just follow through with what you do that gives you this joy, such as you said, going to a cathedral and You didn't have to automatically subscribe to their belief systems, but the reality is all those people into that cathedral because they wanted to get away from it all and feel at peace. You can do that again, but you don't have to go to a cathedral. You can go anywhere. You can go to a park. You can do that in a mall. Maybe take a little more discipline, but it can be done.
I want to add about intuition. Sorry, did I interrupt you? No. I wanted to add about intuition. I read somewhere that intuition is the highest form of human intelligence. And I tend to agree with that statement because to me, when you center or when you work on yourself or when you step on this path, it is your guidance, it's your own intuition. And that is a natural intelligence of a human being, the way I see it. So working on that to where you trust your intuition and in whatever way that works for you. So I'm gonna just add, for me, it was spending time in nature, as you guys know. And that actually what it does is exactly what Trismegistus is explaining. It expands your inner self, your intuition expands, and you trust yourself more. The more you do that, the more you spend time with your own nature. That's what I wanted to add to that.
I like that you added the word your nature, because I mean, it's very subjective. You know, you have to hone in on what means the most to you. You know, you can't just take someone to your favorite scenery and, you know, expect them to get the same out of it that you did. You know, it has to be yours. So going from within. And I want to kind of add to what you guys are talking about and the awareness levels. It's kind of like as we're growing up, especially in my age, in my group as a millennial, and especially where I grew up in the United States, in this democracy, you know, from a very, very, very young age, you're taught to, you know, and people who have grown up and have experienced life, such as yourself, Lily, Og, and HRS, you guys are going to try and help us. And you guys are going to say, you know, you need to listen to yourself. You need to listen to your intuition. You need to understand your heart and you understand your body. So then because of the skewed system that, you know, I was believing in, and I thought that it was the only way out there to live, I wouldn't go deep in when people would say, listen to yourself or listen to me when I'm speaking to you. I would automatically look out into the materialistic world for a response that was going to give me the satisfaction to let me go to sleep at night, you know. And it took a couple of years, you know. It's not instant gratification, you know. And you might not even ever feel the gratification. The thing that you will feel is just your wholeness, the whole part of yourself being there, you know. It's a very tough thing to do, find yourself and detach from what you know is you know. But I'm going to just say it flat out. You need to drop your ego and you need to be a little bit more optimistic, because there's a lot of knowledge out there that will help you and benefit you. And it's for your own sense and for, you know, not only you, but everybody around you, you know. It's that. You have to stick with the program. You can't just get upset with it and give up, you know, like everybody else did, like I have done in the past. It is a transformation, and like Lily likes to say, it's an evolution. It's not overnight. So I think that, yeah, we're a team. We work in a teamly manner, and it is all about your intuition and the wholeness of you, you know.
Anybody wants to add anything to that? No?
You got anything?
Go ahead.
Anybody? I have an external mic. I'm not sure how well it's working though.
I can hear you okay.
It's all right. All right. I was kind of quiet there the whole time. A lot of good ideas. I don't know where to begin. I was writing a lot. the last thing that's kind of interesting that comes to mind, I'll try not to ramble too far here. Going into nature, and there are many ideas here, from basically supporting what's been said to completely not like trashing it, but it's like, oh no, don't do that, that's like the end. Or like some people will tell us that this is a not so much that it's the false realm, because that's one idea, but that it's basically the way of not handling, but of progressing consciousness. We can maintain ourselves through a type of focus and harmonization of our levels, basically. But basically, if we do it too much, we kind of dissolve into the background radiation of the universe and become one with everything, which is the goal anyway. But if we do it basically too quickly, we kind of reach that, we reach the finish line before everyone else. And then some will tell us that's the goal, period. And it goes back to what we got into in the previous chat, as far as the Western and Eastern way of viewing the universe and creation, as far as coming out of a void of nothingness where all potential exists simultaneously, versus coming from an act of creation where there's a pure, like a powerhouse of energy and change. And one is basically a physical linear reaction, kind of like a chemical reaction or physical birth, and one is more of a transcendent, like a mind exercise, where it's really nothing was created, it was there the whole time, your perception changed, and now you have the experience of different layers of existences. And one thing about the nature is it's kind of, at least I feel that it's related to that, as far as going into nature. And what you said about, I can't remember the exact words, of basically sensing your energy or more so, and like getting in tune with yourself. And it's interesting because I wrote something about that recently, how it's kind of like going into an isolation chamber or a deprivation tank, as far as when you go into nature. And imagine that, because there's two beliefs, that humans are different, unique to this entire world, this reality, and we're basically sovereign God beings that step down into this reality like a dream, and we're moving through the day, but is basically having these dreamlike experiences that cycle out into different ages of history that all reflect into different ages of maturity in our life as spiritual and physical beings. And so, the other one is that we're kind of formed out of this world as far as being an extension of nature, that we are literally the trees, we are literally stardust brought into a physical form. We're literally a very complex mirror made out of light and matter of the whole universe looking at itself, kind of like a billion-eyed organism experiencing itself in a variety of different dream states all at once. It's pretty complex if that's like the penultimate of what we are. And even then, if that's really what it is, well, then what about the cells and the animals and the atom? Basically every atom is an I at that point, so it's beyond all human comprehension of what we truly are, if that is in any way what's going on here. The idea is if that's what it is, then going into nature and getting out of a box surrounded by wires, being like blasted with information from media systems, we're not basically leaving our life behind or our reminders of order. We're stepping back into our original body. We're actually becoming closer to who we are originally in our actual self. So we're going inside of our mind by going into nature. And that's really what happens if you look at somebody's brain waves while they do it. They've done these studies with the monks and meditators and these like gurus, these Indian gurus that like torture their bodies and do real weird stuff to get their minds to go into these different states. And they access these different brainwave states, basically go into theta consciousness. And so it's kind of interesting because we get that response by going into nature or by shutting ourselves out from basically an artificial environment, because we can do that here, but the distractions that are not harmonious and rhythmic and natural, like a phone or people walking or honking by outside, but you do that in nature and there's continual birds chirping and the wind in the trees, that's rhythmic. Like right now, if somebody's riding by, that's rhythmic, and so it lulls a person into this trance state, kind of like drumming or something like that. And so it allows a person to slip into these altered states, these dreamlike states. And it's weird because you have one where if you were, you know, in Western society, to do that, you'd have to float in an isolation tank or cover all parts of your body and your eyes and your ears and kind of go numb to the sensation. But if you go into nature, it begins to happen automatically because we're exposing ourselves to harmonious rhythms and stimuli that somehow connect with the cacophony. And it's not a cacophony, it's an electrical storm, a harmony of the same rhythms that happen inside our brain and our bodies automatically. So it's really interesting. It's like, one, we shut everything out, we go inside ourselves, we reach that state. One, we go and expose ourselves to nature and like glue into the environment, and we do the same thing. And it's like we're exposing ourselves, into our mind, to reach those states. And really, in both ways, we're experiencing ourselves. We're going within ourselves. And so that was like one line of what I have written down. And it's empowering to do that. That's like HRS says, you know, everybody wonders or asks questions, and you don't have to ask the question. If you can ask the question, you can answer it. You know, how to meditate, what to do, what is it like, what's the method. The basis of that is just don't do anything. Everything takes over from there. You know, the very basic idea of that answer is to, in a way, disconnect from that which isn't you and is taking your attention. And I'll I'll finish this in 2 lines, but that's the basis of this talk and where we're heading as far as the previous ages. Even Lao Tzu and what HRS was talking about, that is really good. That's interesting. That's kind of, you know, every event in history and every pinnacle of event or like watershed in someone's life is a representative, an expression of their overall life journey. And that's expressive of the overall journey of consciousness in the universe. We're all little cosmic creators cycling through these. And it's kind of like music. You take a section of the music, the song or the beat or whatever it is, and if you expand it properly, right, like a fractal, you get an image of the whole track, the whole song. And so we're kind of doing that. And this is the age, the time where we're going from being distracted by all these things that are around us that are giving us so much stimuli and so much information, but none of it is actually pointing to the source of the observer aspect, the one experiencing that information. It's all, in other words, it's drawing us out of ourselves. It's drawing our attention out around us in the world. And so now we're hitting this, it's just the cycles as well that he was talking about, everyone was talking about, these ages of histories, these 7 ages. You can only go so far of being distracted until you lead back into yourself. You can only walk in so many circles in nature until you realize what you're doing and who you are and why you're here. It's just gonna happen. Eventually you're going to slip into those natural states. And you only have so many dreams before you dream of yourself and the reality that you fell asleep in, and you lead yourself back to where you are. So right now, you know, that's what I feel. In other words, we can only be blinded and distracted so many times with information until they expose themselves and we realize they're just trying to distract us to stop us from realizing what's actually happening, and it exposes itself. And so we're kind of in that point. And the current like age group is basically like 1 foot in and 1 foot out, where there's a defining feature of each reality set, if you will, where people are pushed one way to a breaking point. They're like, all right, this has to stop. Something new has to happen. Right now, we're in the null point between like the last big one, and we're kind of being prepared to be presented with the next new one, which is basically going to have to do with like transhumanism and simulated realities and the new technology that's either going to fully recreate, you know, the stimuli of this world in a person, or give them an opportunity to completely change everything about how they experience reality in a productive and beneficial manner. And there's a whole, you know, other list of things. It's mainly about going from the survival aspects and like the colonies all fighting and not, you know, they're congruent and they're communicating in the fact that they're consistently trying to basically walk over one another and fight each other, and lead from that into an age of unity and abundance, where we all have that power, but we don't have to use it against one another. It's more creative at that point. It's to create, and like Ben says, to have that power of knowing if we're doing what we want to be doing, the right or the wrong, but moving out of a duality-based, a reactionary or reactive mindset into a transcendence and a reapplication of meaning. And that's being catalyzed by people continually, like HRS says, being faced with this darkness, this distraction, this confusion everywhere, because we can see that as somebody basically just like, I don't know, like doing the clown seltzer bottle in our faces, But in reality, it's an opportunity to choose one or the other, and in doing so, to know ourselves. So we're in an age where we could take it one way or another. We can basically take it in a depressive way, but it's actually giving us, those who take that initiative, the power to actually choose for themselves what reality they want to focus on. And it's all about focus and acknowledgement. And there's a slightly more weird kind of Gnostic aspect of this, which goes then into these like theoretical physics and things like that. And then that leads into the mind virus. But it's kind of about materialism, the age of materialism or awareness, and how we're kind of getting to the point where the mind overcomes that consciousness delay, where we begin to operate mentally faster and fast enough to overcome all the limitations that have been used for ages to hold us back. Whether it's some secret group doing it, or whether it's just because that's what people are doing, because that's just focus, and we're either going to be autonomous, or we're going to be in seeing things in a way of self-empowerment. And it goes back to Sophia and Lucifer, the true reality and awareness, or a demiurgic illusion of like this animal like suffering that basically just spawns in building up and then going to war, and then building up and going to war. These cycles that are basically coming to a point where it's either going to stop, or we're going to stop having to live like that. And it's kind of like the animal mind meets God, but the God is within ourselves. And I'm just going to wrap it up real quick, but it's like Benjamin said as well, as far as we're living in the moment, in the presence of self, or somebody is off in the past or off in the future and they're worrying and they're not really here. And so then it becomes the idea of how to get people into the moment. What methods do we have to bring back the feeling, the presence, and the awareness? And everything moves to a whole new layer of creativity. And it's like the reality goes from being a dream in this hypnagogic trance previously in Ages of History into like this technologically advanced, we know what everything is, back into this complete, reality could be anything because it's not broken down yet. We haven't created all these certainties, and the possibilities expand. They go off the chart basically. And so it's like, but you can draw that on a map, of a mind of our brainwaves being kind of too slow, then catching up, then going faster. And it's kind of interesting, very interesting. But then there's more that could explain into each one. I kind of ran through them all. But I just wanted to catch everybody up on the thoughts that I'm getting through my mind from everybody's words. They're very interesting.
So this is kind of it's like the war of consciousness that you're speaking about, Og. It's a battle, Actually, I lost my train of thought. Let me write down something and I'll talk. Go ahead, Lily.
Okay, so I'm just going to add to what Og said. It is a transformation, self-transformation is the path that we can grow through. The way I see it, what he's expanding on is this self-awareness is the way to experience, let's just say, this upcoming age. And that's the transformation, and that's the consciousness evolution that we're going through as humanity.
I'd like to add also to that, and to spin off a few things that Og said. One of the things that he said just recently was choose one over another, meaning maybe focus your mind on something. And that made me look at a list, and just to the audience, we did receive some Q&A about what the topic might be. And one of the things that pick one topic that you feel is most relevant to the Age of Aquarius, that in simple terms, explain why we must detach from the very program that we give power to. So, whereas Og had said choose one over the other, and as the Q&A had suggested, pick one topic that you feel is most relevant to the Age of Aquarius. I'm going to try an experiment. I'm going to show you what topic that I choose I feel is most relevant to the Age of Aquarius. This is it right here. I wrote it down. Now, this is backwards.
No, it's good.
Okay. This is what I choose. So what I want to do is an experiment. I'm going to start with myself. I want to go to each one of us. And since Og spoke last before me, let's go right back to Og after myself, and then maybe Lily, and then Ben, and the ladies, and then Jimmy. So, what gives me the greatest joy is that I enjoy developing stories because I like movies, and I've taken some courses in drama and in filmmaking. And what gives me the greatest joy is to develop stories that actually pertain to all of what we're talking about, but in a dramatic way that can be written and ideally made into a film like The Matrix or something else. It doesn't have to be sci-fi, although it could be, and that gives me joy. So all I need is like a pad like this and my own mind, and ideally quiet, but I can do it if it's noisy. And then develop some notes, and then from there develop it. So that gives me the greatest joy. So I want to turn this back to Og and have Og tell us what gives him the greatest joy, and then from there to Lily, and then everyone else. Thank you.
Good idea. It's an interesting idea. It's like we're reality reflectors for ourselves and another. So what we focus on is going to expand into our experience as well for others. So if like we're down in the dumps, everyone knows this, and you do that enough, everyone around you is the same. So it's like focusing on joy can be, it's like there's a term that is basically redundance. There's a redundancy factor where like focusing on joy makes it so that could be joyous. The most joyous thing could be focusing on joy. But, and that's just kind of like an unconscious way of looking at it, where we're not really personalizing what it really means to each individual. I think everybody's kind of more or less similar. We just have our own different ways. I kind of like what HRS said, because I'm kind of similar, where I really like to think about the world. And, there's the whole duality behind thinking and knowing and beliefs and experience, and, like one's manipulable and one's actual, but, we don't need to get into that. But that's what I like doing the most. There's times in my life where I liked a lot of maybe like skateboarding or make a little bit of music, like electronic stuff, but mainly I'm happy from doing those things. I get the experience of the chemical rush of having fun, but I feel what you could classify as joy as something that changes my life throughout time the more that I do it, from communicating these ideas and seeing others, basically like engaging in others in these ideas and making a groove in the world and society, where I don't see that happening to the degree where I think we all would want it to be happening, or at least to see it happening. We don't want to like force everyone to think a certain way, but everyone is empowered when they look at reality. And so I get really, really, a good feeling from doing that. And so I want to expand on that in various ways of being able to write it out, being able to, depict it in a story. I haven't had too much experience with that, but I know that is one of the great methods throughout history of getting your ideas into this reality, is basically becoming a little creator and making these realms within your mind linguistically and conceptually. And, a person, I can speak for hours, and somebody might get a few minutes worth of what I say. But if I develop this tale, with the protagonist and antagonist and the main theme and all that, they'll remember it. Everybody will remember a storyline. So that's like where I feel this is kind of going for myself as well, but I'm not really quite there yet. But I'm along those lines where I like this information, and as well connecting with people, where I like, a lot of these healing arts, from massage to the essential oils and foods, and there's a very like personal, interpersonal experience with that, because I'm not, I don't want to be like a computer somewhere just like always processing information. we're still at least in these human suits, so there's a huge experience with that. But yeah, that's kind of like the idea is. So right now it's just writing, but I'm not writing like these well thought out stories. It's kind of just like going off, and I'm not going to say that it's the exact same where I'm going to start writing stories, but if I could get that down packed, that's something that I would like to be able to do, to develop these ideas so that people can enjoy them and they can stay after I stop rambling about them, you know, because rambles only last for so long in somebody's head. They kind of like fade out real quick. So.
Yeah, but the good thing is that you're a good rambler.
Thank you.
And
I would listen to your stories.
And I enjoy this. And so you guys know I enjoy talking with other people and sharing my ideas, because writing is not something that comes to me easy, although I do love to share my thoughts, and I like to actually spend time with myself and water. That brings me the most joy in this physical reality, because I absolutely love anything water. So any activities that give me access to interact with water, because water is very powerful. And so every minute that I have with water, it's always joy.
That's great.
So there's a lot of other things I do like to think of. So I meditate a lot, and I spend a lot of time by myself thinking through all this insights and bringing them into a coherent state to where I can share it with others.
Not to mention that, as far as I know, that Aquarius is a water sign, correct?
Yep, I am an Aquarius.
So not only are you enjoy water, but you're moving into a time period where water is a big part of that. That's really cool. Let's go to one of the younger guests. Tell us what gives you the greatest joy.
Go, Kelly.
Oh, sorry. Pretty much, I mean, connecting with people. I think everybody gets joy out. I mean, obviously not everybody, but connecting with people just on deeper levels than, hey, how's it going? Also spending time with myself, meditating, being out in nature, being able to recharge, creating art, creating stories, creating music, anything, just creating brings me a lot of joy, and being able to share that with people. People bring me joy. I love people. We all, I think, I don't know, deep down, I feel like we all just want to connect with each other, and there's just these barriers that we make up to not, but I enjoy connecting. I love people. People make me happy.
Okay, that's really great. Thanks. This is all part of the experiment. I'll get to why I decided on this experiment in a second. But let's go to Jimmy or Ben. Tell us what gives you the greatest joy.
I guess I'll start. But just kind of the whole reason why I'm here is because I have a lot of pain that's been, built up inside of me. And let's see if I can get this through. Let's see if I can get this out, because this, like Lily said, it's my joy. I grew up in a time where I didn't understand a whole lot, and I got ridiculed for it, and so I just kind of repressed my own being and my own self to where I didn't say anything. And I started, let me just give you a little bit of background on me. I've been at the top of the material plane, I've been at the bottom, and I've been everywhere in between. And the only thing that I could take out of it was, you know, at the bottom of the barrel, you can make joy for anything. You can kind of decide upon what you enjoy doing. And the only thing that I've really enjoyed doing, you know, going through childhood and stuff was spending time with people who care about you. And the word care is very important when I say it like this, because when I look out into the world, I just see a lot of people that don't give a shit about anybody but themselves. And it's not that everybody on this panel only cares about themselves. It's that that's all they know how to care for. So when you're going through these chemicals, I'm crying right now, but I'm not sad. It's a chemical response that, you know, has gone through experience, because I like to say, much like joy, pain is it's a formula that we can use for growth. And much like experience, pain is the common denominator for that. So in order to understand yourself fully, I had to go to the bottom of the barrel. And there isn't really one thing that gives me the most joy. There isn't. And that's why I have so much conflict, because I don't know what I want to do.
Okay,
And,
let me ask you a quick question.
Go ahead.
I see some emotions here, and I see you know, maybe revealing some pains. It gives me an indication that maybe what gives you joy is simply for you to express yourself.
That's exactly what it is. I need a platform to express myself, but not only that, I will not feel good about myself if I have not done humanity my part. If I have not gone on and shared what my thoughts are to the world, then I haven't done my part. And I haven't, you know, because it is about yourself, but it is about the people that you live with more so, or else we're going to die as a civilization, because it's not all about me. It's about the change and the evolution. So that's why I'm here, because I enjoy life. And I've prayed multiple times, you know, I don't want to die. I would rather live here forever, because I'm scared of the unknowingness that, you know, one day I might perish. But you know, that's what this thing has showed me, is that there is no limitations to what you can think or what you can act upon. There is no limitations of what you can be or what you can see. It's just how willing or how hard are you willing to try. So I mean, you can find joy in everything. And I think that that's what my biggest point is. The heart leads the way. And I guess the most important thing for me to tell you guys is that pain, it's not a bad thing. You know, I'm sitting here crying in front of however many people are going to watch this video, but I don't give a shit, because I care about the evolution of the people. And I care about my brothers and sisters that I have to go to work with. And I care about the people that I have to, you know, deal with. And that's the thing that's the hardest for me, is I have to deal with these people. And when the people don't care about me and all I want to do is help them, it's a very difficult thing, you know? So that's why I'm here wholeheartedly. And that's what gives me the most joy, is you guys allowing me that platform. So thank you. I apologize. But pain is not a bad thing.
Hey, Jamal, what gives you the greatest joy?
Oh man, I don't know how to follow up something that powerful, but
It could be stamp collecting.
oh man, just really thinking about it, what brings me joy is just experiencing new things and new ideas, because I don't know much at all, and I think that's kind of the reasoning behind it is, you know, as human beings, we're birthed into this earth, and we have all these questions that some of them are easy to answer, some of them aren't, some of them take real time, some of them may not take time at all. But basically the experience of you know, basically knowing what maybe other people have gone through, or seeing what other people have gone through, that's what brings me joy, is kind of knowing that I'm not the only one maybe that's experiencing pain or trouble, or you know, I'm not the only one thinking these ideas, that there's other people that maybe experience what I feel or what I'm doing.
Okay. Kelly, is your parental there with you?
Couldn't hear that.
Is Kelly's friend still with her?
Oh yeah, Summer.
Oh, jeez. Great.
Summer, what brings you the greatest joy?
Helping people and connecting with people. I know what it's like to hurt and to feel alone, and I want to help anyone who's in that place. Just bring healing to people. That's what brings me joy.
Have you ever thought of doing any volunteer work for senior citizens or orphanage homes or anything like that?
I have done volunteering. I used to, like, on holidays, help feed the homeless people and doing things like that. But I'm right now working in the healing. I'm going to school for herbalism, and so I want to bring natural healing to people, and I think that's my calling.
Yeah, it sounds like you got a good head on your shoulders. You're on track. So I want to start where I left off, where pick one topic that you feel is the most relevant to the age of Aquarius, and I believe that is joy. And what we just demonstrated is that each one of us has something that we're very passionate about. And we're not all the same. We're all individuals. Yet we can get together collectively to share our stories and what we like and what we don't like and stuff like that. So the age of Aquarius, coming out of the age of Pisces, or possibly in the age of Pisces, it's more like structured. You have to do this. You have to do that. You must do this. Where now, it's all about self-expression. So, whereas how this started as the program to try to help millennials deal with things that are unfolding, what I wanted to demonstrate through this little simple experiment, and joy seems to be something that could work out, is all of us definitely should continue to pursue these things that gives us the greatest joy, because that also aids us in detaching from all the things that don't give us joy, hardships, the problems, the challenges, the things that were mentioned earlier about this division, racial tension, false advertising, false news, whatever it is. So we can go on for hours and hours and hours and go through historical records and go into intellectual, new scientific discoveries. But the key question was, in simple terms, and this is what it is. It's very simple. Again, like for Lao Tzu, it was simple as going to nature. And obviously, for Og, it was, I think you mentioned music, creating music. I think that's really cool, and developing stories. And I'm going to encourage you to continue that. And Lily, as a communicator, which she does really well at. And Jimmy, who likes exploring new possibilities and unifying things, and being with people, what Kelly said, and then to self-express himself. And obviously we know that he's interested in acting and stuff like that. So we can go into this whole long thing about how can we meditate and stuff like that. But what we'll find is that when we do the things that we really enjoy doing, that brings us joy, suddenly we're not watching the watch anymore. And what we perceive as an hour could be 5 or 6 hours. We're not plugged into a time construct. We're doing something that enriches our lives, that brings us joy. And that is the solution, I firmly believe, as to what is the most relevant topic in this new age that we're moving into. Find your joy by simply asking yourself, what brings me joy? And then finding the time to follow your joy, because that will lead you to all the other things that we've talked about: enlightenment, peace, harmony with nature, etc. It's very simple. It's not a big, long, drawn-out chapter. We don't have to make 15, 20, 30 videos on this. It's very simple. Find your joy, express your joy. When you do that, you'll be at peace. All the clutterness will all go back like this, which we demonstrated before. And we're at the point of peace. And that point of view, the point of view of peace, we can aid others in all magnificent ways, encouraging all those other people to also follow what gives them joy. And then what happens? The world transforms itself into a place of joy. That's what I believe is the solution. Most people would agree with me. Here we have all different ages, all different backgrounds, different countries, etc. We're all united in what gives us joy. That's what we should be focusing on. Let us be the forerunners. Let the millennials be the forerunners to initiate doing things that bring you joy. All other things and people will fall into place.
Might I reiterate what gives me the most joy? It is progressive change. I'm going to leave it at that. So I appreciate your guys' time, and I thank you for having me on the show today.
I just want to add something real quick. I'm not cutting anybody off. What HRS did at the end right there, and it was throughout the whole, there was kind of like a, it's like a mind exercise, or whole body, spiritual, whatever you want to call it. Because the main thing, along with the substance of the direction, the directive of how our emotion and what we get out of reality and, that pertaining to the new realm, all that stuff. The main thing is that we could go on for hours about the little finite details of what each of us is capable of, how we're able to relate to the changes. Basically, we could go into detailed methodology of how we're dealing with it and how we're interacting with what's going on. That goes on forever, if you didn't realize. That can literally go on, probably not forever, but, just a human way of making sense of a lot of information. The magic, the real capability that makes everything work in a realm where we only have a certain amount of time to do things and a certain amount of resources and all that, is to compress and condense all the infinite possibilities of where we could go, what we could talk about, and how variously we can look at all the different scenarios and bring all of that information to a single point where it skips all of the linear accumulation of information from different channels into different aggregations of information and experience into just like a single, like a penultimate. There's a word for this in some of these meditative practices. I can't think of the word, but it's a transcendence of all the different parts into one like singularized meaning. And it's easy to say, well, it works to do that because it brings about just the results, basically, instead of all the different steps and stairways and pathways and what we could use to get there. And one of the main ways to look at that, I'm kind of like dragging it on as I talk about it, but one of the main ways to look at it is that if we say, we spend all day, all year trying to figure out what we don't want, and we're cutting out this and that, and we're figuring out what we need to do differently and whatever, that's like a person with a mechanical mind versus another type of looking at things, intuitive. So, or we could skip all of that, and in one day, after a few hours, just focus. I mean, really, we just did it in a few minutes with the 6 of us, 7 of us here. which is, it's just a demonstration of how the power of the mind and the power of really getting to the point, as well as the labyrinth that the mind can be. And if you just figure out what you want, what would you have if you had what you want, if you achieved that equilibrium, if you attained that success, you could call it joy or peace or any of these ideas. But then if you focus on that and realize that's what you're actually chasing the whole time, you take all that work that could literally be 15 years of some guy teaching you how to fold your body up into a pretzel and like balance out energies, which is useful. But the idea is if you figure out just the point that you want to get to, you can do it in an hour, which is really like this whole idea about how the mind can attain it in an instant. You can attain where you want to be, what you want, 'cause it's a mind state. You can kind of like just snap and let go of all the things that hold you back because they're in your mind. So that ability, you know, it not only shows what he's been through in order to have to get to that point, because you can't just like wake up one day and be like, yeah, I'm just going to go crazy and I figured it all out. And so, but in being able to do that, that's very powerful. And to teach other people and for us to remember that, it keeps us from getting off center, going into all these side channels, which are useful, but eventually we just wind ourselves into all these little trails. And it's fun. Some people do that, but that's a nature hike through the mind. If we go straight to the source, we get directly to it. We get exactly what we want. And eventually it's as if love or joy or whatever we resonate with in sympathy that we want, we enjoy, whatever you want to call it, that's like the connective tissue, the connective medium of consciousness across all the planes and the realms. And so in attaining that, we attain this congruence. And when we're in congruence, all our dreams or our desires or whatever it is, they all mesh, kind of like instruments in an orchestra, in symphony with each other. So, which is just breaks it down then to really all we're doing is trying to harmonize, or we're harmonizing with ourselves, so we harmonize with the world so everyone's in harmony with each other. It's interesting because the mind can lead us linearly, consciously, into a billion different channels of outlining what we want without actually going straight into the source. And so, and pay attention to what he said and what everyone said as well, because everyone's outlining this similarly. We're all literally on the outside of the circle of some cosmic, you know, like you were saying before, a galactic core of energy that's reflecting everything. Neither of us are exactly that source of the whole universe. We're all a fraction of that original source. And so we all, each of us are an imprint of how we're finding our joy in that. You know, that was a perfect exercise for everyone that's going to watch this. And, you know, no, I just threw myself off there. But it's really interesting and it's helpful. And I think, yeah, the more we do that and realize that, we're gonna see change, and we're going to there's all these resistances and deviations from that in the world. I just completely threw myself off, but I think what we're doing here is a key pathway to that. And I do have a bunch of other stuff that I could go into, but I'll save that for either another time or later, because one interesting thing is that tilt, that wobble, the precessional wobble of the world is related to consciousness in a very, very strange way, as far as how the tilt is organized across the earth and what it relates to that so-called galactic core, or what can be called the great, the central sun, or the great attractor, which basically everything has this gradient shift where every consciousness is angled just slightly in a certain direction, because that's what we're all doing anyway. We're all leading ourselves into some type of worldwide or even like galaxy or universe-wide congruence with some happening which is organizing everything towards that harmony and that motion. And that motion is really kind of, it's elusive to describe, because it's not like we're building tools or, you know, we're making, we're all, you know, going to paint a certain way, and, you know, different areas of history and different styles of painting and recreating reality all the way. Now we have simulated realities and things like that. It's really that we're creating ourselves as we go through these ages. And yeah, I'll just end it with that because I threw myself off. But as far as it being about self-expression, oh, well, I can't remember how I was going to tie that part up, but with Benjamin, your energy, to have that type of energy and that type of capacity to access a well of information, because that's what emotion is. Emotions are informations connected to these experiences, tying you together. That's your world within itself, you know, alive and enlightened basically with that activity. That's you being shown and proving to yourself that you have a great desire to unleash that onto the world, basically, to put yourself in a way where you can, where you see that you want something and you want to be able to make that possible for everyone. Otherwise, you wouldn't feel that way. I mean, people don't just feel things for no reason. There's a lot of people that don't feel, and it's a lot of people that don't feel and what would want to feel, but they've done so much that they don't know how to reattain that. And so you have literally like a mountain of energy within you that's trying to get out, basically. And so it kind of goes back to what HRS was talking about as far as going back to the joy, basically. And more directly, maybe to give this a more conclusive wrap up, is that we can go again through all these channels and these derivatives of what we feel we want and think we want. But if we, in a way, detach from that conscious chatter and the reminders of that linear structure of time and requirement in our life based upon society, then it begins to kind of, you know, for lack of a better word, although it's not too bad, it kind of like it bleeds into our reality. It bleeds out of us. We're doing what we want to be doing. We're being led by our emotions, by our intuition. And it's not purely emotional, because when you're doing that, you have to be intellectual, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to do that. You'd just be one way or another with emotions. That's really capturing emotions and attributing your mind in a way, a platform where you actually give yourself what you want instead of running these circles, which is, again, whether a secret society or group is doing it or not, but that's what society is doing. Really, it's kind of both, but it's more so they're just kind of like painting the way. It's people who, you know, everybody experienced it. If you don't focus on what you want, it's like a little kid in, you know, recess or one of those like playground restaurant places, where it just goes on and on and on and on, and before you know it, the time's over, and you know what's going on. It's just been a bunch of games, but there was really no way of interjecting order into any of that. It's just a complete, you know, free-for-all. So when we organize, we can still attain that emotion instead of losing that and coming into this chrono controlled time grid world that has been created. And when we do that, there's an automatic occurrence that happens, and it's just basically self-expression. And self-expression is from the soul. That's the whole point. If we were purely neurochemical processing units, there would be no point of self-expression. It wouldn't mean anything. We would have like numbers that we would self-express. Like, this is what I felt today, and I computed this. Because we want to put our identity into the world, that's something beyond this world. Basically, we're kind of like the paintbrush for the canvas of the world through that. And emotion is it's like the paint, or the intensity of the colors and whatnot, and our ideas. I kind of got it disjointed there, excuse me, but it was all right.
That was good. We're going to take it back to Lily. I just want to say some concluding remarks to the girls, and to Ben, and to Jimmy. This being the third show, 3 is a very strong number. The triangle and the pyramid, 3 sides, is actually the strongest structure. So what I think is really cool is with this show, the third show, I believe through the concept of joy, finding what brings you joy and execute it, that's the solution to all the problems that the millennials have. All problems. Go back to joy. Do what brings you joy. All that passion. Make it happen. And then spread the word to all the millennials out there, because the solution has just been provided based on contributions from Lily, Hog, and myself. It's awesome. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak with you guys as well.
Yeah, thank you everybody for joining. I really appreciate everybody contributing today. And it is true, you know, I wholeheartedly agree that be the change that you want to see in the world. That's the key. If anything, I can tell you guys to move forward in the world is you are responsible for yourself. And so be in charge of yourself. Be brave and be the change that you want to see in the world. Because in the beginning of the show, you expressed how things in the external world are not to your liking. And that you want to see the change. So let's all become the change that we want to see in the world. And then the world, our external world, will transform right in front of our eyes. And that's eventually why we're all here, contributing to each other's soul growth. And hopefully, this will help others to join in this evolution, which is human self-discovery. So I thank you all so much for joining me. This was great. Until next time, bye everybody.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
We wouldn't be able to do this without people like yourselves. It is really difficult, you know, and the fact that we have a platform to speak freely and feel and understand these chemical responses that happen within us is just, it's really cool. So I hope that, you know, we can do our part. We have, so.